As everybody who watches me might know, I've been moving towards, I have an astrology channel that everybody knows as How to Rock Astrology. Feel free to check it out. And I have been up in my father's cottage writing a book and tapping into some very zen flows of consciousness. I think that it might be nice for me to start sharing some meditations and affirmations that I've been writing here on my live stream on my channel. Now, the first thing I'd like to say is that for everybody watching, the meditation that I tend towards tends to come from my teacher. I have a teacher who practices Kriya yoga. Kriya yoga comes from the lineage of Paramahansa Yogananda. You might recognize the name as the guy who wrote the autobiography of a yogi. Now, I'm not officially ordained as a Kriya yoga instructor. I went through my teacher's apprenticeship course. My teacher's name is Ryan Kurczak. And for anybody interested, you can always look up, you can go to Google or what have you, and then you look up Ryan Kurczak Kriya. You can find his YouTube channel online. His YouTube channel is full of some great, wonderful bits about Kriya Yoga. As well, he has his own website, kriyayogaonline.com. And it's here, you can even see my head in one of his classes that he did in Pennsylvania. Here you can see everything going on with Ryan's Kriya Yoga course, including his Kriya Yoga apprenticeship. Now, one of the main things that I'm doing in my world is sort of ringing in the sheep and talking with people about Ryan's wonderful apprenticeship program. As I said, I'm just sort of a footman telling people about this. Now, Ryan's Kriya Yoga apprenticeship program, he does it every year, and it's wonderful because it encourages a back and forth. You send him an email, he gives you the techniques, and you explore the techniques yourself, and you see how they feel. You get into the flow of using them. And when you feel like you're falling off, you feel like it's not quite the right thing for you, you'll have Ryan or one of his people sort of talk you through it and ask you, why has it been difficult for you to make time for a practice? Do you feel dedicated to this path? Because sometimes when we're moving on a path, it's hard to know what our dedication is, what our intention is, and how to stay dedicated. That's why it's nice to have an apprenticeship path like Ryan Kurczak's that he has set up for his Kriya Yoga path. So for anyone interested, check that out. Now today, we are going to have a little flow of consciousness to discuss a little bit about this path. Then I'm going to do a nice little affirmation that I've written recently. And then we're going to flow through some techniques. I'm going to try to keep it short, sharp, and snappy so that it doesn't take too much time. Now, if you're watching, feel free to roll your shoulders back. Have a nice big deep breath in. Hold it at the top. And then exhale. Try to imagine energy flowing from your crown down to your root. Hold at the bottom. Now breathe in again. Hold up at the top. And then exhale. Let the breath ooze down your crown, back down to your root. Now you can sit relaxed. We're not quite started with our practice yet, but it's going to be something like that when we begin. For now, let's just have a quick word about our intention here. I'm going to start a sort of rehearsal, just like we're doing here. I have an email list where I meet with people on Zoom, and I have people like some of my friends who are already hanging out with me who are watching live. We do sort of a feeling that we're all together practicing what is essentially a very solo path. Kriya Yoga emphasizes Kaivalya, and Kaivalya is sort of the aloneness of seeing. There's a wonderful haiku that comes from Jack Kerouac in the 60s. It's one of my favorite haikus. He says, "Look, blackbird. No, bluebird. Branch still jumping." Was it a blackbird or was it a bluebird? One person says it's one thing. Another person says it's another thing. A true spiritual path is Kaivalya, the aloneness of seeing. Only you see what you see. Many spiritual paths can get us very watered down by trying to validate our experiences with the people around us. My teacher has kind of really encouraged me to always emphasize the path of self-realization as one that you really take alone. You don't need to bring your whole family, your kids, your wife, and the dog along with you, because when their intention flags, it's very likely that your own intention will flag as well. My friend, the Canadian fishin' musician, is saying hello to me. Nice to see you, pal. Oh, it's Rick. Wonderful. Or Rich. Nice to see you, Rich, buddy. This is the importance of the Kaivalya aspect of self-realization. It's not something that we can try to validate externally. The image I often give is of a dog drinking water. Why does a dog drink water? Is it because it knows in its mind that a dog has to drink water? A dog drinks water just because it doesn't think about it. It's Zen. There's something in its ancestry that has been programmed to experience the goodness of drinking water. Its ancestors drank water, and it was good for them. The path of goodness has been experienced in our own experience. It's been seen by us. That goodness is something that we experience, and this is what true faith is. Faith isn't something we believe because somebody told us to believe it. It's something that we experience. When Shiva, in the famous tantrikas that were written around the medieval ages, people go to the mountain and they meditate and they ask Shiva, what is the truth? What is the absolute reality? And Shiva doesn't tell them something. He doesn't refer them to a book. He gives them techniques. And he says, here are the techniques. Use them. Explore them yourself in the vibratory laboratory of your own nervous system. Experience it. It's only then that it's going to mean anything to you. This is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge that has been experienced to be true. Of course, there's many forms of truth. We can experience the goodness of drinking a beer from a beer bottle, and it feels good in the moment. But we also do well to sharpen our experience through the wisdom and knowledge of those who come before us through a lineage, through wisdom lineages. But again, which of these many wisdom lineages is right for you? Be the dog, drink the water, do the technique, and see for yourself what feels best. One of the reasons that I'm here discussing the goodness that has come from my personal experience of the spiritual path of self-realization through the Kriya Yoga lineage of Yogananda and Lahiri Mahashaya is because I've found that the water is serving me very well. And it's something that I'd like to serve. It's purifying, it's good karma. And I'd be doing these practices that we're going to explore today by myself anyway. But in the spirit of sharing, in the spirit of being a candle that can share my experience with others without losing the light of myself. That's sort of my interest here in beginning these rehearsals, these meditation practices together. I'm planning on doing them Tuesdays and Saturdays at 11 a.m. EST. If you're interested in being a part of these things that I'm doing here, I'm not always going to do them live on YouTube. So if you're seeing this, email me at the email that I'm going to give in the description box as well in the comments. That's astrology@dustincormier.net. CORMIER.net. I'll send you the email saying what it's all about. I believe I'm going to try to put the PDF to the techniques of the Kriya Yoga lineage, at least the basic ones, so you can start feeling them for yourself. And remember that my main interest here is to point you in the direction not only of my teacher, but of other teachers who are qualified to be teaching Kriya Yoga. I'm here as an entertaining personality, kind of ringing in the sheep, but I'm not yet qualified to really dig into the depth of what Kriya Yoga is. So keep that in mind. For now, this is a sort of hangout for people to join in and see what I'm doing on my own personal path. But if you want to really be on this path, check out Ryan Kurczak. As well, there is a group that is forming. It's called the Kriya Yoga Alliance. You can look it up as KriyaYogaAlliance.com. And there are teachers like Ryan, but there are several of them. And you might vibe better with one than another. So if you're interested in what we're doing here, find yourself a teacher, find yourself a lineage. Because Shiva can give you the technique, but Shiva can give you many techniques. Many lineages can give you many techniques. But as the old saying, the Chinese wisdom goes, if you dig 100 holes 1 foot deep, you might not taste the water. You might not nourish and quench the thirst of the dog. But if you dig one hole 100 feet deep, that's when you tap into the water. So I encourage you to sniff around a bit for a path that you think might work for you. If you've ever been truly curious about spirituality, though, you really have to dig into one, dedicate yourself to it, in a spirit of scientific inquiry. What does Dustin mean that I have to dig one hole 100 feet deep to quench that thirst? Open your mind, be open to the experience that you have. Because a lot of people get into meditation and their inspiration falters. It takes you devoting yourself and dedicating yourself to seeing what this really has in store for you, to taste the water. Then when you taste the water, you're like a dog who's been going around not drinking water before. You're dehydrated. You're spiritually thirsty. Then when you drink that water, it's like, oh man, I'm not getting away from this again. At least that's how those who experience it tend to experience it. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep doing the practice. You might have to tweak some things in your life in order to orient yourself to a dedicated spiritual practice. I invite you to join those who are actively being a part of this experiment, especially through the KriyaYogaAlliance.com and also through my teacher Ryan Kurczak, if you're interested in following him and how he does it. And in my experience, he's great, but he's the only guy that I've done it through, so. My friend Rich is saying hello to me again. Thank you, Rich. Yes, I am still playing bass, buddy. There's a fellow from Oshawa that I played music with all the time. So, welcome to today's hangout, today's little sermon. You know, I'm kind of getting into the flow of doing this. And like I said, if you're interested in doing this with me, just to be a part of things like this, we'll be doing it Tuesdays and Saturdays at 11 a.m. EST. You just got to send me an email so I can add you to the Zoom group that I do for it. Now today, before we get into our practices, I've written a little bit of some affirmations, a sweet little sermon, and I'm going to begin moving through this, and then we're going to get into some practices together. Feel free to get into the flow with me here, folks. I have a very, very deep love for myself. And when you have a deep love for yourself, you'll find it is very easy to love other people. It's kind of like keeping a piece of dry wood next to a blazing bonfire. It's bound to catch. Of course, as is typical with love, it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to really experience it. You have to feel the love before your affirmations can mean anything. You can say, I love you 1,000,000 times. I love you, I love you, I love you to yourself. And these affirmations do help. But if there are shadowy, subconscious guilt complexes and things you haven't forgiven yourself for in the back of your mind, the words might just roll off you like water off a duck's back. You might not trust the words completely. How could you? Why would you? We all can have these subconscious guilt complexes, even if nothing's ever really happened to you, because this is how life often unfolds. So there's being, and then there's what we do. There needs to be another step of love experienced beyond what you've done. The good things you've done, the bad things you've done. And that taps into the ground of being. Experience empathy for the infinite, this inherent ground of being, who must make joyous mistakes on its path to self-realization and wholeness. A river doesn't need to forgive itself for taking unexpected turns on its path back to the ocean. And neither should you. But we are humans. We have the lower chakras to deal with. We have a different layer of emotional guilt and resistance to cognize in ourselves. And ignoring it and just rolling affirmations in our head, again, might just make the affirmations roll like water off a duck's back. Realizing that all of you, including the shady bits, are a natural part of your nature coming into healthy self-awareness. That is the path of self-realization. Then it's as easy to forgive yourself as it is to forgive a baby putting its hand in the cookie jar. You can laugh at it. Then you can stop taking it so personally. Then you can stop taking it so seriously. Then you can drop the rigid anger. Then you can objectify the pattern. I'm looking at it. And if I can look at it, then there's an it and there's a me. Then you can accept it. Then you can forgive it. Then you can love it. Then you can begin to love all of yourself. Then the fire is stoked, and the dry wood will ignite when others come close to you and even if they do you wrong. You go through the same process. You forgive them. You see their pattern. You accept them for it. And you love them. They are the ground of being, reaching for the joy of wholeness and the light of truth in the soul, just like you are. Joy of wholeness. I wrote that recently while I was in the juice, in the sauce, in the flow of things. And I thank everybody for being here and moving through it with me. We don't really realize just how our subconscious can entangle the freedom of our minds to move through what our unconscious wants for us, wants us to do. The subconscious and unconscious are my particular linguistic framework for understanding these different dimensions of the mind. Sub is sort of below, and unconscious is sort of everything. It's all of it. The unconscious is conscious with the forefront of our minds, with what we put our minds through. But the unconscious is sort of like our nature, and it contains all of us. It's the subconscious that hides parts of that nature from us. And this happens simply through trauma. This happens through guilt of our parents telling us that this is wrong, but we find that we did it because our nature wanted to move through it. And our parents didn't have the insight to teach us to love and forgive when our nature does something that's not conducive to our total goodness. Sometimes we have to take what nature puts us through and try to find a way to communicate with it. What are you doing? What is your unconscious doing when your hand is stuck in the cookie jar? Forgive it. It's trying to do something. And some aspect of that is trying to reach for wholeness. We don't realize how much we repress aspects of ourselves until we get into the flow of cognition. The first step is dedication to the path of self-realization. That is, knowing that we are curious about consciousness. Curiosity about consciousness is divine. And then we move forward on the path. We practice concentration. We practice contemplation. And we practice meditation. And this is part of what this path is all about.